سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So today actually the topic was suggested to me by Brother Tushar, as he was originally supposed to give the nasiha. So inshallah next week he'll give the nasiha. And the topic is the Muslim perspective. Now, what do I mean by that when I say the Muslim perspective? Because in everything, people always have an opinion on it, right? Doesn't matter, look, even with the paintings we do today, there will be an opinion. This painting is better than that painting. And people will disagree. They will have their own perspective of what they think is right, what they think is better. But then when it comes to the Muslim perspective, it should always be the same. Regardless, the Muslim, meaning regardless who you are, if I am somebody and you are somebody and we're both Muslims, we should have a similar, if not the same, perspective on things. And in this case, it's not things, it's life overall. So for us, someone was talking to me and he said that he was having a conversation and the brother asked him, how are you? And he replied, Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. Even though he had been working overtime the entire week and his entire schedule has been filled. And he asked the other brother back, how are you? And he replied, well, he said Alhamdulillah, but he said, it's kind of hard on me right now. Or I'm not really that happy as I could be. And for him, the reason was that because he was working, not overtime, but he was just regularly working and he was busy. Notice that both of these people have similar schedules, have similar lives. One was happy and content, while the other one was, we can say content, but at the same time not content. He was, in other words, he was dissatisfied with what he's been given. And it's because of the perspective they both had. For the brother who felt like he had work, he didn't want to do it, there's so much to do, there's so much to finish, that's something we can relate with, right? Because we're like, I get lazy, I don't want to do this. But let's look at the other brother who was happy, who was content. Why was he happy? Why was he content? Well, because for him, struggle was defined as not having a job. For him, struggle is defined as not having money to put food on the table, right? Because for him, if I don't have money to put food on the table, that's a problem. Now I'm struggling. So for the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with a job, to be able to do that, he's thinking, I'm not complaining, I'm actually happy because Allah gave me this, right? And that shows how we can have different perspectives on so many things, using this as an example. Now for the Muslim, it's known that we should be in one of two states all throughout our lives. One of two states, meaning one of two conditions we should be in. Does anyone know these two states? The first state is in gratitude, right? Shukr. And the other state is in patience, sabr. So a Muslim is either in the state of shukr, gratitude, or in the state of sabr, patience. Now how can we relate this? Meaning, when something good comes in your life, you should praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remember that He's the one who gave it to you. If you were to ace an exam, if you were to get a promotion, it's not because of how great of a worker you are, it's not because of how smart of a student you are, it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with this grade. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with this job. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with this recognition from even the community or your family members or your friends. He gave that to you. He gave it to you. And the other state is sabr, patience. Meaning if things don't go our way, if things don't go our way, we don't just jump back. We don't go from gratitude to dissatisfaction. We don't do that as Muslims. That's the Muslim perspective. We go from either gratitude to patience. Because in both cases, we're being tested. Now, it makes sense for you to think that, something's not going my way, so I have to be patient. That's a test. That makes sense, right? So how is it that when you are When things are happening your way and you are in gratitude, it's a test. How can that be? That's positive, right? How can something positive be a test? It doesn't make sense. You wanted a good grade, you got the good grade. You wanted money, you got the money. You wanted the house, you got the house. How is that a test for you? Does that? I thought that's easy, right? Isn't it good when we have these things? Similarly, as to how patience is a test, having gratitude is a test. Because you know why? We become sometimes arrogant and we forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of this mix. When we get our car, when we get our house, sometimes we forget to remember Allah. You know, we might throw a house party in the nice big house and we might skip Isha, we might skip Fajr, right? One day we're praying for it, after we have it, we forget to pray the next day. Because we forgot to be grateful. And it's actually one of the hardest tests is to have a lot of wealth. Because Allah will hold you accountable for every penny that you spend. And He will ask you, where did this penny go? Where did that penny go? How did you spend all this time and money? Whereas if you are someone of patience, now we're saying, okay, it seems like they're both kind of hard to deal with. When I started this conversation, you guys thought that there is a positive and there's a negative, right? Everyone thought I was talking about a positive and there's a negative. There is no positive, there is no negative. There's a test. That's what it is. The entire thing is a test. And you are in one condition or the other condition. We have to get out of this mindset where we think something is good for me, something is bad for me. To be truthful, you don't know what's good for you. And it says in the Quran, you might like a thing, but it is bad for you. And you might hate a thing, but it is good for you. So we don't know what's good for us. We think we know what we want. That's it. We know what we want. That's all we can say. But is it good for us? Allah knows best. So keeping that in mind, as we go through challenges and accomplishments, achievements in our lives, we should remember that either we should be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or we should be patient to the trials and tribulations. And keep in mind that having your accomplishments is a trial itself. Don't forget that. Don't get so high off your accomplishments that you think that you've become somebody. For one day we came from a sperm drop, that's all we were. And the next day we're walking. And we feel like we own the world. We were nothing. We were something that people think is filthy. We came from something that Islamically is impure. We came from impure. Then Allah made us pure. And then we leave this same pure state to become impure again. And that's on our end. So keep in mind where we came from. That at the end of the day, we're really nobodies. Doesn't matter what position you have, what you're doing. We don't really have much going on for us. So we have to hope for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. No matter how much we do, no matter how much we strive for. And throughout that hope, we do our best to keep our patience. And we do our best to give gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With that, I'd like to conclude. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.